decent amount of people have joined, and I'm sure more will join as they see the notifications in the stream. So welcome, everyone. Zyonik and I will be interviewing the season one North American Championship winner. He not only defeated many opponents on his way to to the season one championship, but he also had incredible endurance and the ability to withstand the outdoor weather at 2 in the morning to claim the championship. So it was definitely a championship to remember. We have a list of questions that we pulled from Twitter. And then as well, if you guys have any questions, oh, it looks like someone made it from the battle park. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. We're gonna mostly go off this list of questions. We have 10 questions, but feel free to ask your questions, and we'll see how we can interject them as appropriate. But anyways, you don't want to listen to me. You want to listen to the champ. So let's turn it over to Sam. So Sam, why don't you start off? Tell us your name, where you're from, and tell us about your Pokemon Go journey, especially how PvP has changed that.
Yeah, so my name is Sam Shmuseth, pronounced Smooshiv. I know you had some trouble pronouncing.
I'm not gonna be able to pronounce that correctly, so I'll learn over time.
Yeah, no worries. You can just call me Sam or Shmoo for short. So I started playing Pogo soon after lunch. I played very casually until I got involved with Valor of Boston. There was a huge Pokemon Go community in Boston, and we have separate Discords for divided by teams. About, I would say, like 10,000 or more players around Boston. So I got really involved with the community, and we have actually another server for those that are level 40, and we have all these crazy challenges that we do. So trying to do those challenges got me like really grinding hard, trying to get a lot of Stardust. Then when PvP dropped, I was like, finally some strategic elements to this game. And I invested a lot of dust initially. My friend actually dropped 10 million Stardust.
10 million.
Wow.
Okay, tell us what's the craziest thing he powered up or double moved.
He was like double moving all the legendaries, because double moves also are very useful for raids and raid challenges. And that was a new feature that came with PvP. So yeah, I don't know the craziest thing he invested in. I know he maxed out Toxicroak for Ultra League, and yeah,
I love Toxicroak for Ultra League, but yeah, it's 10 million is so much.
Oh man, I don't think I've had 10 million Stardust.
He grinds pretty hard. Yeah, and then I really got involved with the tournament. Got involved with the community. We have Discord for PvP, and yeah, I love the initial tournaments because nobody really knew what they were doing except for probably my friend and I, because we did a lot of research. We did a lot of testing initially against each other. And actually, in my first rank cup, I brought in a lot of the similar mons that I used in my championship. I brought in Azumarill, Umbreon, Skarm, Lantern. That was before the Thunderbolt nerf. I also brought in a Medicham, pre-Power Punch, and Altaria, which I didn't use for championships, but definitely good picks. Yeah, that was a lot of fun during the initial stages, and then, it got me grinding even harder, and new people. I've had a chance to travel and meet people from all over the world. So it's been a blast so far.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that leads us really nicely into our second question. I think you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So these questions are from Twitter, as you guys probably saw from King's tweet asking you guys for his questions. So this one's from Legendary Prince 777. He says, "Congrats, champ. Very well deserved. Now that you have won the first North American championship, how do you feel?" And I'm going to ask you, it's a multiple questions here, but we'll just answer each one. So how do you feel after you've won? Like the dust is settled. You are you're the king of North America, basically.
Yeah, I still can't believe it. I didn't expect to do as well as I did. I wish now that I look back, I wish that I had recorded my matches so people could look back at them. But a lot of the matches were recorded by the people that I faced, so that was great. I don't know how to feel really. A lot of mixed feelings.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it feels like a dream that I haven't woken up from.
Yeah. And then 6 months ago, obviously, is when PvP kind of came out. Do you feel like it's a whole new? The question is, do you feel the same as 6 months ago when PvP was first introduced compared to where you're sitting now?
I think I feel about the same. It's a lot different now. We have buffs, and all kinds of new moves were introduced. But like overall, PvP hasn't changed too much. We have a lot more strategies now that it's been 6 months and people have figured things out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you still have an edge over your competition? Because I know you talked about early on in like the early tournaments, you identified a lot of the really like strong mons before everyone else did. Do you feel like you still have a competitive edge over your competition, or do you find there's like a?
That's a good question. I think the playing field is definitely a lot more even now. That everyone has access to all these resources, and there's a lot of great content now on YouTube especially from you too, King and Zyonik. A lot of resources out there for people to watch and learn. So it's definitely more even playing field. So yeah, I don't have much of an edge at all, I don't think.
And do you feel like sorry, Diana, you can cut in as well. Do you feel like your confidence level? So take us back to 6 months ago, which is Christmas Eve, 2018, and think about your confidence level around PvP. Like if a random person challenged you and said like, I'm the best. Let's battle. Versus now, like, is your confidence level the same, or is your confidence level higher, especially after taking away this huge championship?
I guess to add on to that question is if you were to battle yourself from 6 months ago right now, so you right now versus you 6 months ago, like, do you see a massive difference?
Yeah, definitely. I've learned so much in the last 6 months. All these new strats like counting fast moves, and I think my game has definitely been elevated significantly since 6 months ago. So I would probably destroy myself if I.
And then the final question from Legendary Prince is, and what kept you striving and not giving up when you lose sometimes through the last 6 months?
So actually, I lose a lot of times in practice. Sometimes on purpose, but a lot of times not. But you learn a lot from your losses, and you get better from that. So actually, I don't mind losing. I sometimes prefer to lose because I learn a lot more from losing than winning.
That's actually really cool that you said that, because I believe the same thing. A lot of people, would think myself, other content creators, people who are doing well, people who win worlds like yourself, like win all the time. Like we rarely lose. And I'm like, if you fight me in the 2 first weeks of a new meta, like right now, people battling me for Jungle Cup, I usually get my butt kicked around a lot. And I try to get my butt, I try to lose, not like on purpose, like messing stuff up, but I try to like find ways of how people are beating me so that when it comes time for the tournament, those situations, how you can come back from a tough situation. So it's really cool that you have the same view, I would say.
Exactly.
All right, perfect. That's great answers, guys. So the next question is from Matthew from the UK. He'll be seeing Zyonik in Season 1 championships in Dortmund. So the question here is, would you change anything about your team moving forward? What was your MVP? Let's start with those two parts of this question.
Yeah. I don't think I'll change anything about my team. I really like my team. I've practiced with these mons for a long time. I'm very comfortable using them, and I think it's a well-rounded squad.
Why don't you tell us what your 6 Pokemon that you brought to Season 1 Championship?
Definitely. So I brought Umbreon, I brought Gallade, Toxicroak, Skarmory, Azumarill, and Lantern. Did I say Lantern?
Yeah.
No, but I think that's the 6.
Well, no, but yeah.
Yeah, that's my 6.
And then which of those 6 were your MVP?
So most of those 6 actually ran during regionals. I just had instead of Umbreon, I brought in Sableye, and I had Medicham instead of Toxie. So the MVPs? That's tough. A lot of them had their moments. I really liked using Gallade. It's always very fun mon to use, and Umbreon I think had a lot of great moments as well. Very safe switch in case I had a bad losing lead matchup.
For sure.
So I really liked my 6. There are definitely some holes. I think, well, in practice matches, I had a hard time with Tropius. So I think someone should bring Tropius from the restricted in Dortmund.
Yeah, you know what? I was on the, I'm not sure you watched it, but I was on the Go Battle Stadium. We were talking about the World Cup meta, Season 1 championship meta, and they were like, I was like, if you're going to bring any grass Pokemon, you should bring Tropius. It's like the most different of all the grass types. Like from Meganium and Venusaur, you can find appropriate ones, and as well, like you might even go crazy and run like an Air Slash Tropius if you want to be bold and daring and throw some people off. So I think it's an excellent choice. And then now you talked about like one of the potential limited Pokemon. If you were giving advice to Zyonik or anyone attending Dortmund or Santiago, because a lot of people are going to be looking to the North American champion for advice. What 2 of the limited Pokemon? Tell us some combinations that you might consider using.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of combinations to choose from because the restricted picks are so good. I was expecting a lot of people to run Azumarill and Skarm, as I did. More Medicham than I saw. But I think a lot of people in Dortmund are going to try to copy my team probably. So definitely maybe if people pick Tropius or Meganium, those would be really great counters to what I ran. I don't think anybody brought Meganium to the one in.
I don't believe. I'm trying to look through maybe one person did. I'm just like recalling off the top of my memory. I think one person brought Meganium.
I know Swagron brought a Venusaur. I remember talking to him about that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because I think the poison typing is actually kind of a liability. It's nice to have for the fighting type, but it could be a real liability if a lot of people are running Gallade.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times people beat the grass types not with fighting charge moves, right? So like the poison typing doesn't necessarily take away the bulk of the damage and ends up having a liability against like really strong psychic fast moves like confusion. So
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
makes total sense. And then here's a question. You might upset some of your opponents. What was your toughest game / matchup in the tournament? Who was the one you're like, oh man, that was like be a tough one to do again?
I think I had some of my closest matches against that boy Muck. He was really good technically, and yeah, in all aspects. I think he was really tough.
Anything particular about his team or composition, or was it just really strong execution of his lineup?
Definitely really strong execution. I think he ran 3 water types, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. But his execution was maybe even better than mine. He was one of the best players I've ever faced. The finals against Peace Love Hugs, that was definitely tough on multiple levels because the elements and the exhaustion, we were both really probably not at our best, but he still played really really well.
Yeah. I kind of I shoutcasted. I'm sure you watched that video, or at least heard some comments. And that last matchup, when you double loaded the leaf blade, that was like definitely taking advantage of Peace Love Hugs tiredness at that point in time. And as soon as I saw the double shield on that Azumarill on the from the Glade, I was like, oh man, it's over. It's over. Like that was like because like it was definitely his match to lose at that point in time, based off of what you guys had remaining. But you definitely turned it around by burning both his shields and double loading,
Yeah.
which I'm sure is a common strategy that you do.
Mm. Yeah, that was something.
Yeah. Actually, Shelby had a question. Like, the real question is, how did nobody's phone die? Actually, the funny thing in the knockout stage, I think it was that boy Muck against Legendary 4, and that boy Muck is winning, but he has like less than 5% on his battery pack on his phone. He's like, I need power, right? He's like, I have a USB-C, right? And he's like trying to play from behind in a knockout match, and someone plugs in their phone, but in some battery packs you have to click on the power button to have it work. But everyone was like frustrated. So
Yeah.
obviously,
I think he actually got to like 1% on his phone.
yeah.
It was really,
And to
we
be
were
honest,
like, oh my
if
God.
they replay that match, he would have lost because
Yeah.
he pulled off
Yeah.
like a miracle move.
He is because I think he landed a Hydro Pump versus the Wizcash
Yeah,
on Lantern,
but,
and that completely turned it around. But yeah.
I'm sure. Don't worry, Sam. We'll get some battery pack companies to sponsor you in the future.
Thankfully, I brought 2 power banks with me, and I actually lent one of them to that boy Muck for our match.
Gracious, right? And a gracious champion indeed. So I think that leads us to our next question.
Yep, and this one's from Jimma Banks, as a lot of you people know, another great Pokemon Go content creator on YouTube and a great battler. He was there at the championships as well. He congratulates you on the win, and then he wants to know how you came up with your team of 6, and was there any last-minute changes?
Yeah, so actually, I was thinking about bringing Lanoon, which Peace Love Hugs brought. We didn't really have a chance in previous cups to bring normal types, so that was my moment to bring a normal pet.
Mm-hmm.
I think Linoon does really well against the ghosts, so it would have been instead of my Umbreon. But Umbreon is just so tanky and such a nice switch in that I had to bring it. It was doing really well,
Yeah.
really performing well in my practice matches. I was expecting to see a lot of Sableyes, and I think there were a good amount. So Umbreon does well to counter those.
For sure.
And it did well against Linoon as well. So I'm glad I brought it over Linoon.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Linoon. I think it's like, I think a lot of people bring it for the ghost and then soft checks to Azumarill and to Skarmory. But in practice, when I was prepping people for Worlds, I didn't find it executed that well.
Yeah, I had the same.
And then, can you let us know your thought process when you were creating your team of 6 for the World Championships?
Yeah, so I was expecting to see a lot of, as we all did see, there were a lot of Azumarill and Skarm. So I thought that Lantern would be a great pick because Skarm has nothing against Lantern. If you try to flash cannon me, I'm just gonna laugh because it has the water typing, which is actually, I think, is nice. Some people run Hydro Pump on their Azumarill, so the only option is Play Rough against Lantern. So I thought it was a great, and it was unrestricted. So it left me still with 2 restricted picks, and I brought Toxicroak because I think it does well against a lot of things that fighting is meant to counter. Plus, it's got the Sludge Bomb for Azumarill, and it's got the Mob Bomb for other Lanterns. I think it was between Toxie and Wishcash for me because I really wanted a mon with Mob Bomb. I was expecting a lot of either Lantern or Probopass.
Yes, anti-flyers.
Yeah, definitely. And then I picked Gallade because it's like a pseudo grass that beats other grass types. It's got the close combat, so even if I'm stuck against a Skarmory, I still can do damage. And then I picked, for my restricted, I picked Azumarill because I don't think any Mon can do the same job as Azumarill can. I ran Ice Beam and Hydro Pump. Ice Beam because I was expecting people to pick Ivysaur as a replacement for Venusaur. I was expecting a lot of grass types, definitely. And Hydro Pump in case of Bastiodon or Probopass. And then Skarmory because I also think that because of the Seal typing, no other flyer can really do the same job. It completely walls most of the grass types. And yeah, I don't think Azumarill or Skarm can be replaced.
Yeah, for sure. Those are 2 difficult Pokemon to replace because of their typing. We do have a question from the chat. Matt, I'm terrible at pronouncing it. Swar, the guy that ran the Relican, he's asked, can you ask him what he thought about my team? So I think, if I recall it correctly, just for the chat, Relican, Ludicolo, Frostlass, Blaziken, Medicham, Skarmory. I think that's what he brought.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I told him in person that I really loved his team. I'm excited to battle him in less than a month. Yeah, I really love the Relicanth pick. I actually talked to choose the master right before he had to battle against Matsor. He was like, I don't know what moveset Relicanth has. What am I supposed to do against Relicanth? So I really like that factor that it's a completely odd pick, but it still does a really good job as an anti-flyer. And you have that buff chance. I noticed in matches he got the buff a lot of the time.
Yeah, he got it. I think the first match I was watching over his shoulder. For anyone that was participating there, you probably saw King and I walking around. So we tried to like sneak up behind you guys battling, so you guys wouldn't know, and then just kind of watch the battles. So I was watching his, and he got a Relicanth Ancient Power buff at like the very beginning of the fight, like the first Ancient Power, no counter in to like lock him down. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a GG, and he just started steamrolling from there. Because it was cool to see.
I almost saw in Altaria like one of the tankiest Pokemon in Great League almost get one shotted by Ancient Power. Like not that great of a rock charge move. I was like, by a boosted Relicanth. I was like, how is this happening? He got it so many times. I actually knew he got it when I shoutcast, because most of my shoutcasts I just make sure that the video is complete, and I don't like watch the video because I want to get my live reaction. And I was like, oh, I knew he got that one time, but then I think he got like 5 times in the tournament, which is
That's crazy.
just like absolutely crazy. I was like, oh, his opponent's just gonna farm down the Relicanth with bubbles. Oh no, he got a buff, and now this Relicanth's invincible.
Yeah.
just
Hard favorite.
craziness.
Yeah,
Okay, so this comes to our next question is, what was the greater challenge? Navigating this meta, which is obviously very complex, or maintaining your stamina throughout the event?
That's definitely a great question. The meta was pretty complex, and there wasn't too much out there about the meta. So I kind of just had to guess what people would bring from their restricted and how they would plan their teams from that. So it's definitely tough to navigate being the first of the championships. But I gotta say, like we were there from 5 p.m. till 2:30 a.m. So yeah, definitely a lot of endurance involved. And I think all my practice really paid off, because a lot of nights I PvP against one of my practice partners until like 3 a.m. So I definitely think that I have that endurance factor that paid off at the end.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw that you did something different than most of the 8 other finalists during that whatever 2.5 hour, 3 hour unplanned break that you had while we were setting up. And I saw you were like battling other people. What was your mindset around that?
Yeah, so we had a really long break between the qualifying rounds, especially for me, because I was able to skip the knockout stage, and we were waiting around for so long. I was like, I'm cooling down. I need to warm up, and I need to practice more for these finals. So I just messaged everyone on Discord asking for practice partners, and everyone just was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I was just practicing away while everyone else was just sitting and waiting around.
And then were you practicing season 1 championship format or something else, or?
Yeah, we were practicing with my championships team with all the restrictions, just to keep warmed up and keep
fresh, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you pick up anything during those practice matches that you end up using in your last 3 matches that you had, or was it just keeping fresh?
Mostly keeping fresh, and seeing how my team stacked up against quite a range of different other mon that might be used. Like some of my practice partners bring in some really weird mons. I faced what did I face? I faced off against Ice Shard, Surf Lapras, and someone brought a Blaziken and Charizard, and all kinds of different mons. And it's good to know how your team of 6 stacks up against a wide selection from the meta.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that Zyonik knew. I'm sure Zyonik can speak this as well. Kind of wish we knew that the break was going to be that long. I was actually at one point in time, I had this idea where Zyonik would take one table, I would take the other table, and we would just do practice battles with you guys, just to
to keep you guys fresh. King's like, we should just battle them. He's like, you take this table, I'll take that table. I'm like, all right, sounds good.
And then they pulled us away. They're like, oh, we're ready to go. And then,
we're like, what? And then another half hour went by and they still weren't ready. I'm like, wait, like,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
I still owe Matt a third Rainbow Cup match to complete our best of 3. Yeah, so I kind of wish we had a chance to battle you guys, keep you guys fresh and right, because I know you guys probably don't want to battle each other, right? Because obviously you're keeping your trade secrets close to you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a frustrating evening, right? How much time and the degree of uncertainty was certainly frustrating on our end, and I'm sure extremely frustrating on your guys' end. And
And for anyone in here watching, I see a lot of comments about the times it was supposed to start, this and that. When it came to the actual event, King, Nick, and I. So when we were in Argentina, you guys know that we basically prepped and ran that whole thing with the help of the Argentina community. So it was we were in control. When it came to this, we weren't. This was all Soph League Arena. This was all their doing, and then we kind of showed up to shoutcast. So there was a lot of things we didn't know what was happening, where, how, or what things were going to go, and we didn't have any control over that. Just to let you guys know, but we did give them feedback for next time, and I think a lot of things are going to be taken care of for Dortmund.
You'll see some big changes for sure. In Dortmund, but we had Zyonik and I walked out of, and Nick as well, walked out of Argentina and be like, oh wow, this was so amazing, this was so great. But then we spent 3 hours just talking about oh, we could do this, we should do this for season 1 championship. So we were all extremely hyped about season 1 championship. And to be honest, before we actually started streaming, I was like, wow, this is amazing, because Zyonik and I were walking around and we watched some of the most incredible matches I've ever seen. The skill level there was just insane. I saw picture perfect switches, baits and shields and team compositions and all this stuff, and I was like, wow, we're literally watching the best of the best, because it was so incredible watching them battle, and it was such an honor for me to be in the presence of so many great PvP trainers. So we were I was really happy to go on the stream. Then they kind of died down after 3 hours of waiting, but we're certainly gonna learn from the experience and certainly build upon it.
Absolutely. So the next question we have is from Pokey AK. And he says, what 3 or 4 Pokemon type combinations would you like to see in a future tournament? That's his first question.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see more normal types. There's such a weird and wide selection of normal types. Of course, you're going to have to bend Vigoroth, because it has a counter.
Yeah.
Just destroys the rest of the normal types. But I would like to see more normals and maybe how they interact with the ghost types. So maybe something with normal, ghost, and then you can have maybe something to counter the ghost types like dark or maybe psychic in there. But yeah, there's such a nice selection of normal types that we haven't really got to
Which
play around with.
which normal types do you think would get more exposure if they ban Vigoroth?
I think that Munchlax definitely is could go could be a huge part of a meta without Vigoroth because it's so tanky and it's got that body slam spam.
So nice.
And there's like there are mons like I don't know Licky Tongue, Licky, Delcatty, like a lot of weird mons with such a weird.
I think Delcatty has Wild Charge or something. Some crazy. So
very nice move pools for some of these other. But it's definitely hard to pull off like a normal cup.
Yeah.
What do you think of Kangaskhan with Power Up Punch?
Yeah, I used it once in Ultra League and I won, but only because I faced off against a Heatran in the lead.
Oh, that's and you're using were you using Mud Slap or are you using Low Kick?
I was running Mud Slap.
Oh yes, so it was just
the fast moves are not so great, but that charge move pool is really nice. Power 8. Once you have the shield down and you have some buffs, that's just too good.
Yeah, Rage will just destroy everything. I know it has some legacy moves as well, so that's awesome. You want to ask the second part of the question, Janek?
Yep, and then the second part of the question, I guess it can be answered pretty easily. How do you think they'll handle the normal typing if ever introduced?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a hard one to pull off, especially if you put ghosts in. A lot of the normal types do have fast moves that are going to be super effective against ghosts, but then body slam is doubly resisted, and the ghosts have pretty wide selection of move sets and typing. So I'm looking forward to a normal cup meta.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing is if you ever played like Gen 1 in the main series game in like all the battling, one thing that I think normals always had was a wide move pool, right? All these like different moves that you never knew what could occur. Definitely can change the structure of the match. Okay, here's a question from JayDevin, the person that invented or started the movement of the hashtag battlers. I think he's in the chat. Great content creators. Check him out as well. His question is, do you do anything specific to stay focused during a tournament?
Yeah. So I like to wear headphones in, mostly because I like to listen to the fast moves, but also just listening to the sound just helps me focus and lets me get in the zone and get away from all the distractions around me.
Perfect. And then how long have you been listening to the sounds of the fast moves?
It's actually fairly recent that I've started. I used to play without sound, but somebody recommended using sound for better switches, and I thought it was I tried it out and I thought it was a great suggestion. So I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely an advanced strategy because it can certainly help you make a switch like half a second faster, because you can certainly hear it, and then gives you another cue to count fast moves. So I think that's definitely an advanced strategy that I think a lot of people know about, but very few have committed to the idea. So definitely kudos to you, and the reason why you're a season 1 champion, right? Taking those extra steps to improve. So I think that's very admirable.
Yeah, super important with a toxic croak. If like confusion user switches in, you gotta get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only 3 confusions from Gallade, and you're done.
Yeah. We certainly saw that some of those deletions before. So
Yeah, so the next question is from Rain. And he says, which has been your favorite monthly cup and why? And then your MVP for championships.
I've enjoyed all of the monthly cups. I think I enjoyed Boulder probably the most because it was so new, and everyone was just getting into it, and it was interesting to see how people would adapt to this brand new thing, what they would bring. There was quite a wide selection of teams that people ran. Now it's a little more, I would say, boring because everyone just brings in the same things. What I enjoyed about the championships is there was again that wide selection of team of comps that people ran because they had no idea what the meta was. Nobody figured out the meta at that point. So everyone's teams were vastly different, which I really enjoyed about the championships.
yeah, and I think due to the restrictions of pick 2 of these top 10 meta Pokemon, I'm not necessarily sure there's like a solved meta or like a really narrowed down meta, especially since you're going to face a wide variety of really tough trainers. So there's not like this is the one team that's going to help you dominate. You might run into a team that is going to give you some trouble or some hassle for sure.
Yeah, and I look forward for other cups in the future to have these types of restrictions because I think that actually went really well for the championship. It was a very fun thought experiment for all of those theory crafters, like thinking about what people might bring and what to run to counter those types of teams, and yeah, that was really fun.
And so we have a question from the chat from Matt Damon.
Oh wow, Matt Damon's in here.
Yeah, right. Well,
I didn't know he was into Pokemon Go.
He's probably
he's like my favorite actor.
Well, he's probably.
So you try to mess with Jason Bourne.
No, he's probably fanboying over the season 1 championship winner right there. So Matt asks, can you please ask him what's the minimum IV for Pokemon he uses using the Go Stadium, percentage of product if that's what you choose to use, that you use before you decide to power something up.
So when do I choose to power them up?
Like for example, if something was 96% of the percentage of the best product, or is it 98 or is it 90?
Yeah, if you had a cutoff or
if it's a rank, because I know you have a rank 1 Skarmory, which I saw you. I saw him win the mirror match against Peace Love Hugs. That was a pretty advanced Skarmory play. I always thought Skarmory mirror match is so boring until I watched those two battle out with the Skarmory mirror match. I was like, Jesus, there's certainly different strategies here. So is it by rank? Is it by percentage? Is it dependent on Pokemon?
Yeah, I mean, IVs are actually very complicated subject matter. It's situational based on like how badly do I need the Mon? Do I need it for tomorrow? Do I have a tournament tomorrow? Do I need this Mon powered up? But I try to go for top 100 rank for my mons. I'm really big on grinding hard and finding good PvP IVs because I do think that there are some situations where it matters,
For sure.
as you saw. But some mons you might want more attack weighted or defense it's a very complicated subject, I think. But
Is there one mon that you powered up that was like very poor PvP IVs that you needed because you needed it for tomorrow or whatever?
Definitely, I've definitely powered up a lot of worse IV mons. When I was first starting out, I didn't have like the best PvP IVs for like Altaria and Skarm and Wishcash, but I needed them, so I powered them up, and then later I found ones with better IVs, and I invested in those. So I have 2 Skarms with 2 moves at 1500. Those, the 75,000 dust really hurt, but I think it's worth it to invest in the better IVs.
For sure, and I think certainly most people go by a product of stats, right? For now, but I think we definitely see like a lot of really advanced theory crafting around like certain breakpoints, like where like Mudshot can go from like 2 to 3 or certain breakpoints. But it's like so complicated because it kind of depends on what your opponent's running and if you run into the situations, for sure.
Yeah,
so I think it's a whole discussion you can have. Someone, Braden, believe he's from New Zealand. I think he's a New Zealand regional cup winner. He actually won the same cup as if you know Blandon Elite 4 TV was in that one. He has a question. How much dust do you spend on average for every cup?
I think that over time the amount of dust that I have to spend on cups has been reduced because I already have a lot of the Great League mons powered up. But initially, on the first couple cups, I think I was spending like 500,000 or something on each cup. It was pretty bad. But I grind pretty hard as well. I catch more than 10,000 a month, so dust isn't that big of an issue. But yeah, recently it's not as bad, I would say.
Okay, because you have a lot of them. Do you do any of the freestyle tournaments on Go Stadium or?
Yeah, so I'm actually involved in the a different Discord server. It's called the Pokemon Go Battle League.
Okay.
It's run by Nightwing. It was something that I just stumbled on. I thought it would be fun to play against people from all around the world instead of just people in my local. So I got involved in that, and it's been a blast. House Stark is in there too. You probably know him, and we do like freestyle, free for all tournaments. I actually won our first. I beat House Stark in the the last. So that was fun. Yeah.
Okay, here's a question from Popcornio. If I'm saying that name, I'm terrible at pronouncing names, so as you guys probably already know. So Sean A. I'm not sure if you know him. He says, Shamu, I'm assuming that's your name, is my man. Thanks for the shout out. So
that's Nightwing.
That's Nightwing. Okay, nice. I can tell by his logo. So Popcornio says, do you think the meta would be more or less diverse if the cups moved to Ultra League rather than Great League?
I think the Ultra League meta is much more constrained. There are a lot of fewer options to choose from that are viable. So I think it'll probably be.
Do you think Great League is the most diverse?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's so many viable mons that wouldn't be viable at all in Ultra League.
Yeah, for sure. Like Altaria or maybe Altaria, but like Skarmory, Azumarill, all those ones may not have the high enough base stats to compete in.
Yeah, Azumarill and Bastiodon, they max right above 1500, so they wouldn't be the tanks that they are in Great League. And there are definitely other mons that wouldn't be viable.
For sure. I play a decent amount of Ultra, and certainly it's actually kind of interesting to see like some mons that are like Charizard is very squishy in Great League, and then like only a little bit squishy in Ultra, just because it's a stat scale up better. So certainly, I think that would be interesting. So move on to our second last written question, and this is a good one. You can break this down by tiers of players that you see, and this is from Alex Grimm. What is the one thing that PvP players needs to improve the most? You can go from like, if you want to, beginners or more advanced players, things that you see that people should be working on.
Yeah, with advanced players, I see a lot of different types of players. There are people that scrim a lot and practice a lot, and they know their mons well, how many charge move, fast moves they can tank. And there's people that like to run a lot of sims, create spreadsheets. So I think, the spreadsheets people can learn from the people that scrim a lot, and the people that scrim a lot can learn from the spreadsheets people. But if we're talking about like beginners to advanced,
So if you were giving advice to beginners, say like, here's the one thing that you should be working on that's going to help your gameplay the most, what would it be?
Yeah, so I try to coach people in my local Discord, so then I have like better people to scrim against. And when I start training them, I tell them first you need to learn your types, then you need to learn about all the mons, move sets, and weaknesses, resistances, all that. And then like the more advanced skills that you can then learn are like reading people's teams, like looking at their teams, looking at your team, and finding holes in your teams and seeing what they might run against you with your team based on those holes, and then finding your opponent's holes and running the mons that might beat your opponent best. So yeah, it can get pretty complicated as you get more advanced, but there's definitely a methodology and steps that you can take to get to this stage of
For sure. I think typing is so important in this, especially as you in these cups is a little bit easier because they're really restricted metas. But if people bring like off meta or weird things, just knowing your typing in can certainly help you decide when to shield or not, or when to switch, or when's a not favorable matchup, and certainly help you go a long way. And then reading teams, really important. I think excellent advice. So we have a couple more questions in the chat before we move on to the last question.
Yep. Can I ask a question? I got one from a
Sure,
Discord.
go ahead.
So based off of the 10 ban picks, if you weren't going to choose Azumarill, Skarmory, what would you go with? So if you didn't choose those two, what two would you go with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Medicham has definitely a place. It's got really good coverage move with Ice Punch, and Power Up Punch is way too good. It's probably broken, especially with the counter fast move, which is probably the best fast move in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would probably see myself running a Medicham, and Tropius I think could really wreck some teams, especially after seeing all these triple water teams I think Tropius could really do some damage.
Yeah, absolutely. The question is, sorry. The question here is from Ross. What's your lineup for Rainbow?
For Rainbow, I have a Rainbow Cup planned for the very end of the month. Still tossing up with a few options. I definitely want to make it a little interesting and pick some mons that some might not expect. So look out for that.
We'll just leave it at that. So
Yeah, it's all hush hush right now.
Sam's gonna come up with some weird stuff. So expect a Kakuna or something. So right. So another question from Ben Cognito. How do you feel about legacy moves? And he says, I love my legacy Pokemon, but they're not available to everyone. Should legacy moves be banned from cups?
That's a great question. I spent a lot of time trying to get legacy movesets, setting up trades. It's definitely a big time and dust. And I think since it's not available to everyone, I think that it should be limited. But I do like seeing people bring some really weird, some mons with some really weird movesets. Or I think there's a it's still fine to have legacy moves, but limit in some way. Just because it gives a wider range of usable mons. I think it's fun, but also at the same time, I understand how not everyone has access. It's tough. It's a very tough subject, I think.
Okay, this is a question from your friend Sean. What's your thoughts on Jirachi for free for all?
So Jirachi, I think, is a pretty good mon. It's got Confusion, Doom Desire. Doom Desire is one of the best charge move. Of course, it got nerfed because it was going to be too good.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to use in practice battles. I think it's got a nice place as an anti-grass and it could also work as an anti-flyer because of the typing and the moveset. But it's got a lot of weaknesses. So it's weak to fire and ground and dark and ghost. So it's I would say it's usable, but you have to be careful with it.
And then I got another questions from Adhaven, Aditan. He was wondering, what's your strategies or your approach when it comes to the start of a fight and you got a bad lead matchup in Worlds? Like, how would you approach that if you like hard lose that lead?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of my leads, I won the lead matchup, especially in the qualifying round. So it's definitely important to try to read your opponent, see what they would run, and pick something to counter what you think they're going to lead with. But if you do get stuck in that situation where you have to bail, that's when you want to have that sound on, listen to the fast move, and just switch right away. Although sometimes if the lead is not too bad of a matchup, you can farm a little bit of energy, have some stored energy that you could just fire off at the end when the shields are down, and they wouldn't expect it to come because they forgot about all that energy that you built up in the beginning. So there are definitely ways that you can navigate around a bad lead matchup. I'd say.
So, what would be an example of a bad lead that you might encounter in Worlds? Zyonik can take some notes and where you would choose to store energy. before bailing?
Choose. Like if I had to Scarm against a Lantern, and it was Charge Beam. Like Charge Beam barely does any damage. I could farm a little bit of energy and then switch it out. There's definitely a lot of examples I could think of. But yeah, that could really surprise your opponent to have a charge move right at the very end from the mon that you led with.
Perfect. And this is a question from Matt. What do you think of those 10 Pokemon that were banned? Do you think they were I'm expanding on this question. Do you think they were the right 10? Would there be any that you remove? Any of them that you would add?
I think the Sylph just went off of the PV Poke rankings, and they just picked the top 10 mon. Yeah, I think they could add on to those as well. Like Sableye, a lot of people mentioned should have probably been banned. It's pretty good even in neutral matchups, and Umbreon as well. So they could have expanded on that, did a little more research, rather than just going off of the top 10 rank.
So the funny thing is, we were talking to Zyonik and I. We're talking to the guy that creates the meta, and he actually begged the Sylph Arena not to ban Sableye, and his main reason was that if you ban Sableye, people are more likely to mostly pick Medicham as their restricted pick, because you end up taking like a very good generalist that's also like like one of the best counters to Medicham. So that was like mostly their thought process around, because they were actually very strongly considering banning Sableye.
Oh, wow, that's good to know.
So they do a lot of analysis on around the meta.
Yeah, I mean, but there are other ghost types that can
For sure
fulfill Sableye.
Like a Alolan Marowak, King.
Certainly. Yeah, I just think that these other ghost types come with like maybe less of a generalist perspective, right? And they get like locked in with like anything that's not a counter. Ends up being a very difficult time for them. But though Alolan Marowak was had a lot of really interesting matchups that I saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, do you want to do the last question from
Let's do the last question.
So this is obviously a controversial question that we spoke about earlier. So I'm just gonna summarize, but basically we want to know from your perspective what was happening in the moment when you got that. I'm not sure if they brought in Hypno or Gallade, but they brought in a Confusion user, and you couldn't bail out of there. I remember looking, and you couldn't get out, and then so you switched off the game. So we're just wondering from your perspective, like what was happening, because I know before that we already had like 4 resets already, basically before that. So what was going on?
Yeah, so we had to rematch because of lag at least 2 times beforehand. They had us using the iPhone 6s, which were very hard to use. The problem with lag, I think, in the other semifinalists. They had to restart a few times, and there was also like weird things going on with CMP. Like the person that locked in first actually ended up getting. So it was really weird, and they just had us use that iPhone 6 for the semifinals. So we could use our own phones for the qualifying rounds and the knockout stages and the quarterfinals, and then they made us make the switch to these really old phones. It was really hard to switch. They were slow, laggy. So I think Sylph definitely doesn't understand so much what it's like to actually PvP and like the importance of the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important for Endorment in the future that they either have some workaround where they can plug in our own phones to be streamed, or just have everyone record the matches and have them play back afterwards, or have some more modern phones for us to use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly. In Argentina, Zyonik and I lent our phones,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to live in practice, and obviously we use
Yeah.
we PvP a lot.
Sadly, my phone is an iPhone 6 as well. It's super old, but I find it works okay for me if I keep the battery topped up. If it starts getting low, then it performs really slow. So I try to always keep it like topped up, just because it is so old. But I think the biggest issue, not only that, is the location of the switch button. I think is the biggest thing, that your like instincts are used to one thing, and then when you go to a smaller phone, it's in a different area for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we put in all these hours practicing with our own phones and hardware. We're so used to it that when you make the switch, it can really change the matchup completely.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you want to switch as fast as possible. And
yeah, and I know
yeah,
when we were at the event, I think I remember coming up to the table and telling all 8 of the finalists that we had phones for you guys to use, and we're going to give them to you so you guys can practice beforehand while we're setting up the stream. Like what I wanted to happen was you guys to all have the phones, all battle each other like in, I don't know, Ultra League or something, and get your feet sturdy on the switch button, get your 3 rings. And then I went to go get the phones, and they weren't connected to Wi-Fi with no password, and it didn't have Pokemon Go. And I was like, oh no. Well, I just promised them they could practice. Can we get this? Can we get things rolling here?
Yeah, when they had no Pokemon Go and we couldn't even load the App Store, I was like, oh
no.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And one thing is Pokemon Go Battle League says, Shamu, the champ, love you, man, in exclamation marks. So definitely getting a lot of love from the chat, and obviously a lot of people recognizing your amazing accomplishment there. So I think certainly the phones, the network, testing things out would have made it a lot smoother of an experience. It's unfortunate that it took away any of the light from the amazing battles that you guys had. And like I watched that last matchup with between you and 000, triple O, X, triple O,
Hugs and
000.
kisses.
Yeah, hugs and kisses as we call it. And yeah, that matchup went down to the wire, and it was actually like super close. So so some like really exciting matches that I saw, and it's unfortunate that they took it away. But hopefully, there's certainly. I went to a tournament today, Rainbow Cup tournament, and they actually had a technology set up where you can just like plug in your phone, and then you just like have to do like the trust
we
thing
need to do that,
and like all that stuff, and it worked very smoothly, and it was great and easy to use, and they just have people checked in. So I had my phone streamed all day, and it was perfectly fine.
Congrats on the win.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was actually really I'm not feeling the greatest, as you guys know. I was actually having like hot flashes through my Rainbow Cup tournament.
Oh no!
I was actually, this is a really quick funny story. I was feeling so not well. We took a group photo, and then I took some other photos, individual photos, and I was like, "Oh guys, when are we gonna take this group photo?" And they're like, "King, we just took the group photo like 5 minutes ago."
No.
I was like, I probably should go home and take a nap. Like,
Yeah. Did you find out what they used to just allow anyone to connect?
It's similar to the setup we had in Argentina. We had
Okay,
like,
just
but they just had like multiple dongles.
okay.
Like when we were in Argentina, we were originally gonna do the format where people could use their own phones, but
Yeah.
then we ran out of like HDMI to whatever port it was. Right? I think we only had
Yeah.
iPhone ones, and we didn't have. I think it was USB C, but they had USB C and all the formatting, and it worked out really great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah. So.
Oh, so I was watching the stream when you're at the Rainbow Cup. I caught like the very end, like your last two battles. But I saw this massive Pikachu in the reflection of the
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
What was up with that?
Some guy got dressed up in the Pikachu outfit, and we did
man.
we did a little battler approach where we had our fist ups, and obviously Pikachu had really stubby arms, so I clearly took that match. So
Is that picture on Twitter? Does someone have that?
I tweeted it out. So
Oh man, I need to find that.
but I think that's all our questions. We'll look for some more questions in the chat if anyone has it. But before we do, I know when it comes to PvP, it's like a whole community helps you get to where you are. We'll give you a minute or so, however you long. Give some shout outs to people that helped you along your Pokemon Go journey, whether it's PvP or otherwise related.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many people that I have to thank. Yeah. First, I have to shout out everyone in my table 10 for the qualifying rounds. I have to shout out everyone in Valor of Boston, Knights of Red, the Boston PvP Arena, especially the organizers of all of our Boston Cups, BizVez, Veni Destroyer, Pokebabita, Pinkheads, Matty Ice. We've had some really great tournaments. We have one coming up June 30th, if anyone's around Boston, Rainbow Cup. It beats Brewhouse. Everyone's welcome if you're around. I have to give out shout outs to people that regularly practice scrim against. Deer Mountaineer, he's one of the best PvPers in Boston, in my opinion. Giabra, who always makes me think outside of the box. Wind Hobbit pushes me with my pushes my mind games to the next level. And Dunebug, who pushes my endurance levels by screaming with me until dawn, till the early dawn. I have to give a shout out to everyone in the Pokemon Go Battle League, especially Nightwing, as well as House Stark, Yorick, Young Boomy, who helped me prepare for my championships, kept me warmed up throughout the finals. Everyone that I competed with against, as well as the organizers in the Brisbane Nightmare and Regionals Cups, you were all awesome. I got this trophy, a 3D printed trophy for winning my regionals.
Oh, that's
that was
awesome.
and all the 8 finalists, as well as X3 the Goat 3X, who let me borrow his headphones, those Beats headphones. They're amazing. Jay Farnakis gave me a pep talk when I went outside to get a breather. And my girlfriend, Louisa, everyone I met during the championships. And of course, you two, King and Zyonik, always creating great content, and keeping trainers around the world inspired to keep on PvPing. I'm sure I'm missing people, but so many people to thank for getting me to this point.
That was the best thank you speech that I've heard related to Pokemon Go.
And I think it's a big testament to the fact that you can't become a world champion alone, right? You're as good as the people around you, and it sounds like you have like a very good community to help grow yourself as a PvP player. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, great, very active community in Boston. we challenge each other, push each other to the next level. Yeah, it's a great environment to be in.
That's awesome. Our son, brutalizing this name, so I think you can probably help me with it.
I was to say we don't have a Sun King.
There you know of, but how did you like Brisbane?
Yeah, Brisbane was awesome. I was there visiting my girlfriend's sister, and just the timing didn't work out. I really wanted to participate in my Boston regionals, but the timing didn't work out. So I went to the Brisbane regionals, and they were very welcoming. Really great players over there. I grinded in a South Bank for Torchic Community Day. There's some really nice spawns. I love it. Very nice city. I'd recommend visiting.
For sure, that's awesome. I'm glad that you were able. The community was very welcoming of you, and that obviously you took home that Zyonik. I forgot to. Gemma on one stream. I said that he went to another country and won, but I think it's a little bit more impressive to go halfway around the world and win in a different hemisphere. That's pretty nuts. Someone asked, all right, Mudkip917. How do you feel about a monotype cup?
Wow.
And I'm gonna add on to that. Which monotype do you think would be most interesting?
Yeah, that's something I'd never thought about. Monotype.
Besides normal, I think normal is the easy one to say.
So would it be just one type?
One type.
One. I mean, it's gonna come down to like coverage moves. So, which mons have the best coverage against themselves?
Ooh, I see a really good one.
Yeah, I see
Check.
that one too. Oh yeah, because that one does have everything.
So yeah, we actually in the Knights of Red we have gym leader, an Elite Four system, where we each pick one type, and we have all these rules. Like for first try, all the legendaries were banned, mythicals, and people that were challenging the gym leaders could only they weren't allowed to bring mons of the same type, so there was no overlap between the types, and the gym leaders got to ban one mon of their choosing. And actually, the gym leaders, some of them won a lot. They beat the challengers a lot of the time with just those rules. So I was the ground gym leader. So I was bringing the Mud Boys for the Great League matches, and they have a lot of. They're only weak to grass, so if I could take out the grass type with a blizzard or something from Wishcast, for example, or Sludge Bomb from Crackfire, I could just run all over them. So, but the water gym leader was probably the toughest to play against. I actually brought a Lanoon against him because it was normal type, but it had the grass and electric move. So water would be a very challenging monotype to go against, I think.
Perfect.
Sorry, that was a long.
No, it's great.
answer.
It's great.
fine,
So,
yeah.
okay, someone had a different interpretation. Clearly, I misinterpreted the question. When they mean monotype, they mean no subtype. So single type mons. What do you think of that? And let's say it's open, like no restrictions. What mon? Okay, give me your preliminary. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. Your preliminary team of 6, 0 restrictions. The only restriction is that there's no subtyping.
Oh, so I could bring
So you couldn't bring like a Sableye, for example, because there's two types.
Mm. But I could. So okay. So it wouldn't be just one type. It would be
Like
open to all the types, but they couldn't have any subtyping. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely would bring Meganium and Blastoise.
Ooh, okay.
Blastoise has that Hydro Cannon. It's got that Ice Beam
Really
for
nice
coverage.
Yep.
I'll bring Meganium because it's so tanky. Got Earthquake for fire coverage. I would bring, let's see, monotype. Hitmonchan.
Okay. Yep.
It has you could go with a Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, or Ice Punch.
Mm-hmm.
It's got nice coverage.
Ooh, how about something you brought to your cup?
Definitely Umbreon. I would bring Umbreon. Because it's so tanky and it's got doesn't have the best coverage, but it's got last resort. You just think it's a last resort in case I need it.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay, I have some pretty good ones. I'll give you some hints of good ones that I've seen in the chat. You get it. It came out the same. This is a horrible clue, but I'm going to say it anyways. It came out the same time as Let's Go.
Came out.
Like what Pokemon do you get from interacting Pokemon Go with Let's Go?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Melmetal. Yeah.
What do you think of Melmetal?
That's definitely a good pick. It's got it's got rock, and it's a steel type, but it's functioned as a electric type. It's got really good typing, just being steel. You could run the Flash Cannon as well. I don't think a lot of people do that, but Flash Cannon is a pretty good move.
Yeah, Flash Cannon's
well.
High DP move for sure.
And then Thunder Shock for super quick charging. Absolute bam. I mean, so I used Melmetal in Boulder Cup to counter the double Scummery strategy. It was really fun to use. I thought it wouldn't really work that well because it wasn't so tanky, but as tanky as it is in like Ultra and Master, but it works really well to counter as an anti-flyer.
For sure. Those Skarmories don't like getting hit by thunderbolts for sure. Okay, here's a couple other ones. And tell me what you think of them. These are I'll try to say the name. I think one was by Mudkip 917 Defense Deoxys.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites to run in free for all. It's got such amazing coverage. You can run in 3 different ways. With the Psycho Boost, which is very low energy, and it's got Stab, very good move. And then you can go Thunderbolt, or Skarm and Zoo, or Rock Slide. That's also a pretty nice low energy move for the Flyers.
Yeah, and with its moveset and the restrictions, what do you think would even be a really good counter to it?
I think Umbreon would do well. Although it gets hit
by
counter, it can still beat it, I think, in all shielding situations.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, no, okay. Okay, Popcornio says Kanto Raichu. What do you think of the viability of Kanto Raichu in this type of restricted meta?
I don't see too many flyers being big in this
which I think is an excellent point.
Meta. So it wouldn't really have a role. It's not very tanky. It's very spammy, but I don't. What would be a flyer that's?
I can't think of a only flying type Pokemon.
them are normal type as well.
Yeah, yeah. I can't. I actually honestly can't think of one. Um, no. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good read on the meta. How about okay? I'm gonna mispronounce this guy's name again, but I'm just gonna say it. Arson, whatever. Okay, he said Ninetales.
Yeah, Ninetales is a great pick. It's got good coverage with Solar Beam. And Psyshock, if no, well, there's not going to be too many poison types. Well, Muck is pretty good.
Yep, yep. Kanto Muck.
Kanto Muck is pretty good.
So it could be a check to Kanto Muck.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of psychics that are monotype. So I don't know if you'd need. But Typhlosion is monotype, right?
Yeah.
Typhlosion's got Blast Burn, so that will deal with Meganium. So I don't know. Ninetales might not be necessary.
Okay. These next two are from Aaron Heights. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but and Zyonik knows this. He likes to run only shiny Pokemon in his cup, so he has to be very creative in his solution sometimes. So he suggests Cresselia and Machamp. What do you think of those two?
Well, you can't get a shiny Machamp with Cross Chop, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that's yeah, that's true. Well, you kind of give away your hand, but I think he already knows that. So, what do you think of Cresselia and Machamp in this type of meta?
I mean, Cresselia is super tanky. It's got Psycho Shock, yeah, Psycho Cut, which is one of the best EPT moves. So it's got good move pull. It's got coverage against. It's got the ice for grass, and it can be dragons. So actually, now that I think of it, Dragonair I think would be really good. It's got Dragon Breath and Aqua Tail for spam. Dragon Breath is I love using Mons, especially in like Master League. I love Dragon Breath. Use it.
Yeah, it's just does so much damage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can't go over. There's a lot of suggestions people have, so I'm gonna give you three of them, and then you can only pick one. Okay, this one's from Squawk. He's from the Go Stadium Discord. He says Hypno. Shelby says Raikou, and then Ben Cognito says Mew.
Oof. I gotta pick Mew.
Because of the crazy coverage, right?
Yeah, it can cover everything. Too bad I maxed mine out for Master League. I can't use it.
I know, it's so disappointing. I wish there was a chance to reset it. I would pay a lot of dust to have it reset. Okay, a couple more Blitz ones. Okay, Popcornio says Politoed with Earthquake. Matt Damon says Dustclops. And then Popcornio also says Pinsir.
Oof. I gotta go with my boy Politoed.
With that Mud Shot Earthquake Surf, right?
And Surf. Super spammy.
So spammy. All right. Okay, great. I think you gave us a lot of really great perspectives and a lot of really interesting insights, which even further demonstrates why you're the champ. Zyonik, any other closing thoughts that you want to?
Yeah. No, it was really great talking to you. Congratulations again. And I think people can take away from a lot of the things you said where you look to lose so you can learn how to win. I think that's a good point. And then you have a great community around you to help improve your skills, not only with like challenging people to battle at all different times of day, 3 a.m. I'll have to wake up early to do that. But no, it's cool to hear that you have a great community to support you in your PvP endeavors. So for everyone out there wanting to strive to compete next year, definitely they'll have to look to surround themselves with other competitive players, and if they don't have them locally, you can find them on Discords, and then look to battle people that are better than you, so you lose a lot, so you can learn how to win. So
Okay.
I think those are great takeaways from what you said. So
Sam, in 12 days, Zyonik is going to look to take it all home at Dortmund. I want you to give him the John Firmakis 30-second pep talk. It doesn't have to be anything technical. What's the pep talk that he needs to do to do his best and take it all home in Dortmund?
Yeah, Zyonik, I think you've been training for this a lot. You've been thinking about your team, and you got this. You got this. Just do as you've been practicing.
yeah,
Just your mons. You know the drill. You made it to regionals. Now it's the championships. It's all or nothing. Just follow your instincts.
it's good because I'm on Team
Always
Instinct.
I mean,
His next point of advice is going to be buy that medallion, trade to Team Valor.
Team Valor, all the way. Yeah, it's so much intuition though when you're thinking about what to run against your opponent. Just follow your intuition, your instinct, and you got this.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Sam, for all your amazing insights and answers and discussions. I certainly learned a lot, and I think it was very, very insightful for the chat. And thank you, Zyonik, for joining and co-hosting this great interview. And we look forward to seeing more amazing battles and victories and championships coming your way. And you certainly represent yourself and your team and your communities and your fellow PvP partners really well. So thank you. And thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining. Any final words?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And if anybody has any questions about their team or they're preparing for championships,
Once you shout your Twitter out, newly formed Twitter.
Yeah, I'm at Twitter. You can also message me on Discord. I think my Discord is on my trainer card. So yeah, fire away.
All right, perfect. What's your Twitter handle?
Oh, it's PvP Shmoo.
All right, perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good night. And Zyonik, you have a good day, and thank you everyone for joining. And we'll see everyone in the next stream or video.
Yeah, take care.